I don't know what's more shocking when it comes to this movie. The fact that I have never covered it on the channel before, or the fact that it's almost 10 years old. This December, it turns 10 years old. Time is fickle, you guys, really. Truth be told, it's not the first time I've talked about it. I used to have a Facebook page back in the day, and I did my first ever video review of this back then. It's still there. You can go and check it out. It's very low res. It was shot on like a webcam on my laptop, and it's very haphazardly edited, but then it was my very first video. You know, it's something that I hadn't really done before, and it was just a really exciting experiment. And my excitement for this movie at the time was kind of unparalleled. There will be those who knew me back then who will testify to the fact that I was pumped out of my mind for it. Very publicly so. I was counting down the days like it was the day before I got my next paycheck. It was crazy just how much hype I had for this, and I think I speak for a lot of people when I say that. Ever since it was announced in 2012 that they were going to do episode 7, from that point until its release, every bit, every morsel of information or like a trailer or like a poster that you got for the movie, everyone was locked into those like crazy. I remember the first trailer dropped and you got to see some glimpses of what the movie was going to be like. And I remember seeing, you know, a stormtrooper without a helmet, this girl on a speeder, she seemed like a scavenger of sorts, this X-Wing pilot who was going into battle with another, you know, fleet of X-Wings, and then you saw this one guy with a lightsaber that was a crossguard. It's like, what is this? We've never seen a lightsaber like this before. And they also showed you a droid, which was a ball that was rolling around. And from that point on until the movie came out, every trailer, every merchandise drop I was there for, and it was this big event, you know, like all of these things would be treated like they were these massive drops. I remember Monday Night Football had the trailer for The Force Awakens, the final trailer, which was going to announce that the tickets were available. And that's exactly what I remember doing. I was in college that time, and we had a TV, you know, space among a few, and then we were watching the game and just waiting for the trailer to drop. And when the trailer dropped, immediately after that, they announced tickets were available. Websites crashed. It was crazy. And right before that was Force Friday. There was that thing where they did with the merchandise drop, and you could buy everything you wanted from the movie, and there were people going crazy at Toys R Us for it. I remember going to Toys R Us and finding 90% of the shelves empty. I was lucky to grab a Kylo Ren lightsaber. And then I remember seeing the movie when it came out on opening day. I went to go see it at 12:30 in the afternoon on Friday. I saw it in my local theater. I took the seat in the back row. I got very lucky. It was completely sold out. And I remember loving the movie. And I had so much praise for it. I couldn't stop talking about it after. I went and saw it again. That time I was in New York, and then my folks were in India, so I went to visit them. I took them to go see the movie on Christmas, and they really loved it too. And having seen it again just now, years later after the fact, I still love it. Like, I still think this is a really good movie. I know that there are grievances when it comes to the sequel trilogy with a lot of people, especially with how certain elements of the story play out. But I feel like this still is such a fun time, and there are so many entertaining aspects to it, and it just makes for a really fun watch. Yes, it does have a lot of things that it takes from the original Star Wars in '77 and really just updates them and does some new things with them, like Death Star is now Star Killer based, that kind of thing. But at the same time, there were so many fun ideas that it was working with and so many new things that I was still really interested in all of those developments. And from the very first scene, I was hooked with what the movie was showing me. And even now when you watch it with Jakku being attacked in the opening and Kylo Ren's ship coming down, and you know, you have this moment where Poe Dameron takes a shot at him and he freezes the blast midair. Like, those are some really awesome moments that remain awesome. There is something really awe-inspiring about the entire thing, and the scale that the movie captures when it comes to a lot of those things is remarkable. Visually, this is a great movie still. I was just thinking, like, I saw it in 4K just now, and the visual design of it, the sets, the effects, even the lens flares that are added in thanks to J.J. Abrams's, you know, signature move, I guess. Like, all of that is so cool even now, and I just really really like the whole design of it and the characters that you got out of it. So many interesting things over here. I think Daisy Ridley as Rey, really liked what they were doing with her. I also always liked the introduction to Rey when she's at the wreckage of a Star Destroyer, and then you see her going around like other parts of the war remnants, like a destroyed X-Wing, and her home, which is a decommissioned AT-AT Walker. Like, just seeing how things have changed in the time since the war happened, and it's been like 30 years since that. And this sense of adventure that's within her, the fact that she wants to get out there and explore the galaxy, but she seems to be waiting for something, a day that may or may not ever come. And eventually she goes on that adventure with BB-8 and meeting Finn, and there's still this pull that maybe she should be waiting for her family. But the realization is setting in that that might not happen, and then the visions that she has at Maz's castle with the lightsaber really confirms that there's a bigger journey ahead of her. A journey that I don't think we're at the end of, because apparently they're making another movie, so there's more to her story yet to come, even though we've gotten a trilogy. So, but I think that you get some really like fun stuff with her here, and especially with her knowledge of certain things, having been a scavenger for so long, and like how to fix up ships and how to, you know, make things happen. Like when she bypasses the compressor in the Millennium Falcon, it's like, yeah, she probably would know how to do that because this is her job. Like, she's building her entire income on whatever income that she's getting on the fact that this is what she does. She scavenges for parts. So using that knowledge, and then her knowledge of how she uses her staff into eventually some of the moves with the lightsaber too. Like, it's all sprinkled in there, and some of those moments I think really did come across nicely. And I liked her dynamic with Finn, John Boyega. I thought he was really cool too. The idea of a stormtrooper being in battle and then seeing one of his fellow stormtroopers get killed, that bloody handprint on Finn's helmet, and sort of going against the fact that what the Empire is doing is wrong, especially when he refuses to shoot the other villagers. And so there is something about that again, when that arc plays out and you see Finn wanting to do something better and then wanting to take on the First Order, and then eventually trying to do something with the lightsaber that doesn't really work out. But again, there's some interesting things going on with Finn. And of course, I have to talk about BB-8, world's most lovable droid for a minute. Everybody loved this little guy, and so did I. I remember when the movie was about to come out, along with that whole merchandising thing, there were also those droids that were app controlled. I remember getting him a while later, and there was so much fun to be had with that thing. It really was like a sentient droid in a lot of ways. Like, the character was really, really cool, and it was just a really, you know, nice addition to the Star Wars droid canon, as it were. Then eventually meeting Han Solo and Chewbacca. I mean, as far as audience moments go, you know, people cheered the hell out of that at the screening, and they absolutely did. And then eventually when you go on that journey and you see the, you know, other parts of the galaxy they explore with Maz Kanata's castle, or, you know, the stuff with the new Resistance base at Dakar, or eventually taking on Starkiller base, there's some really entertaining things that you get out of it, and reunite with so many characters in the process. I would say, though, my favorite character in the movie, and I think this is a response I will get from most people, was Kylo Ren. And just seeing his arc over here as someone who is very much on the dark side of things now, part of the First Order, having these conflicts about what kind of a servant to the dark side he wants to be, it led to some really compelling moments. And Adam Driver was incredible in the movie. And I like the fact that he is so conflicted, but he also has this like shrine to Darth Vader, you know, him being the grandson of Anakin Skywalker and the son of Han Solo and Leia Organa, which is really tragic when you think about it, isn't it? Like, you know, the fact that the son of some of the biggest heroes in the galaxy is leading the First Order, along with his, you know, overlord, in this case being Supreme Leader Snoke, into like wanting to destroy the New Republic, which is, yeah, I mean, there's definitely a sense of, you know, heartbreak to that. And that's something that's amplified towards the end of the movie when Han confronts Ben Solo, and you get the moment that you do with Han where he gets killed. Which again, like, was heartbreaking when that happened. And I think the way that they executed that was Very nicely done. Also with Ben Solo, because when you first see this guy unmasked and he's talking to Rey and trying to find out where BB-8 has hidden the map to Luke Skywalker and where he could be found, that entire interrogation moment, it's like it looks like you're still listening to a boy talk about this, like it's just this much younger, unassuming man who thinks he knows what he's doing, but he really doesn't. And then he has these things like he puts the helmet down on this like bed of ashes, it's sand, it seems. And J.J. Abrams later was like, oh, those are the ashes of people he's killed, which is insanely messed up when you like think about it. Like I wish that was included, like said in the movie, but that's crazy. And it's just that sense of realizing just that Rey also has tapped into the Force, because the lightsaber calls to her when she sees it at Maz's place, and then she also says like, you've got something, and the visions that she has, and that eventually leads to her countering what Ben Solo is trying to do with the mind trick. I thought that was a really rivetingly done scene, and then she eventually uses it on the stormtrooper to remove the restraints, which was also a really great moment. Again, so many great things sprinkled throughout. The Millennium Falcon chase across Jakku was so much fun. It was really well done. There's a little Rathtar sequence in the middle that's not necessarily my favorite sequence. It was just felt like it was kind of placed in out of nowhere, but it was a fun moment to an extent. I love the sequence on Takodana, that big fight that happens, and then the final battle which takes place. There's some really good stuff in here too, like some really exhilarating moments. Finn and Poe's escape as well from the Star Destroyer early on in the movie was really, really fun. John Williams' score, it's the dynamics between Han and Leia. Carrie Fisher, may she rest in peace, man. That was one of those things where I remember when she passed, I think it was right between this and the Last Jedi. She passed after Rogue One came out. It was just this one of those celebrity deaths, where you're like, this is going to take a while to get over, just the fact that she's gone. Seeing the droids C-3PO and R2-D2 again was so great. And, you saw Akbar there for a minute too, Admiral Akbar. That was really, really cool. And, just again, it's the blend of the old and the new. It was all very nicely done, in my opinion. And I remember later on, I was at a talk at Tribeca with J.J. Abrams, moderated by Chris Rock. And it was the most, odd, pairing over there. But they were having this conversation about it, and he was talking about that, just bringing in the old and the new. And it was just a really great conversation. I also will tell you this, when the final battle was happening and Kylo was trying to get the saber after he took Finn down and Rey catches it when it goes midair, that got a lot of applause opening day. I was in that sold out screening and everybody was losing their minds when she caught that. And then she turned it on, the Force theme was kicking in. It was this really hype moment. And then the fight that happens between them, initially one of resistance because Rey is running away for the most part, because again, this is not an experienced fighter with a lightsaber. Eventually she just charges back at him and really strikes the very raw fight for a lightsaber fight. Nothing very choreographed and very smooth like the Anakin and Obi-Wan fight, for example, which makes sense. I mean, these are two relatively untrained people compared to Anakin and Obi-Wan, who are two very experienced Jedi who've also just done 3 years of the Clone Wars. To have them really take on the fight as they do, of course, it's going to be very different compared to this. And that's something about the trilogy in itself that I liked. Like, these two are not necessarily, the same kind of stylized Jedi that others or lightsaber users as others are. Like, they're very clearly much more raw and there's a little more of a roughness to the fight, which I did quite like about it. And then of course ending with Rey getting the full map to Luke and then flying out to find him, and eventually she does, and she holds the lightsaber out, and I mean, there you go, right? I mean, what's gonna happen next? So yeah, at the end of the day, I still really, really like The Force Awakens. I still think it's a damn good movie. I know that, again, there are thoughts when it comes to how things played out in The Last Jedi and The Rise of Skywalker, but I feel like at the end of the day, this movie, for me, I can still enjoy it quite a bit, and I still really, really do enjoy it. I have my thoughts on The Last Jedi and The Rise of Skywalker, some of them not quite probably what the internet was aligning towards. But I'm also so curious about what happens in the future, like when it comes to the sequel trilogy, because we grew up on the prequels, and there's been a lot of revamping of that and, sort of a second life given to those movies. The generation growing up with the sequels, they will decide what happens with it. So years from now, we will see the actual outcome. And I am curious to see what that outcome is going to look like. How will they respond to it? Guys, thank you very much as always for watching. Look forward to more videos very, very soon. As always, if you like this, please do subscribe, and may the Force be with you.